I'm confused. It's 7 o'clock. I'm normally not here. We're trying to figure out how this works when we go earlier. But we're gonna do a mock draft tonight. We're gonna talk about stadium signatures and renderings and other fun things. But first, our guys with Handsome Jack.
Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia worldwide with Greg Tompsett and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL. Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You're joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my slightly earlier partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, 7 o'clocks are not conducive to families.
I would only do this. I wanted to say to you that this is a sign of how much I care about you. And I would only do this show at 7 o'clock for you. It's a weird hour for me in my household.
Yeah, same.
A little bit, and it snuck up on me today, Greg. Like 6 o'clock rolled around. I was a little late on dinner. Like I was getting real panicked, but we're here.
We're here.
I got a fresh Cover One No Dinner on this shirt, so we're good to go.
Nice. Yeah, and so luckily there hasn't been a ton going on. We saw Damar Hamlin went on his kind of tour around on daily shows and met the president of the United States. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We officially signed Taylor Rapp, which we talked about last show, but he took number 28, which people took as a pretty clear sign that we were going to see movement. Yep. And James,
what kind of deal did he
change his number? Yeah, did he have to buy that? I think Cook wanted to change to that number and was just waiting. I don't know. Was it open? Like, was he waiting on that? Did someone have 4 last year?
Yeah, Jaquan Johnson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Tough luck, Jaquan. Sorry. Best of luck with Chicago. Jaquan signed the Raiders. Okay, good luck. Yeah, good. I wish him well.
Yeah.
So before we get into our mock draft, there was actually a little bit of news. We saw like the official progress for all the signatures from not only New York State and Erie County and the Bills organization all signed off on the official paperwork for the stadium. And I believe I heard we might see like shovels in the ground within a month.
I will believe that when I see it. I will say one thing about, I don't know if it's this area specifically, I'm sure it's everywhere, but I follow a lot of those like what's happening in the city account, and I stopped following them probably like 6 or 7 years ago because you would see all this like they're gonna break ground on this cool thing, and then it was like 8 months later, whatever. The deadlines are never accurate. They just get you all excited. I will believe it when I see it. But I do think once they get going, it should roll pretty quickly. It seems like everybody's invested in getting this going, getting it done. So that'll be exciting once they do break ground. But excited to see what I think has already been confirmed. This is just another milestone, a save point, if you will, in a game that we all knew was coming. But it's good to see that all parties are still on the same page to move this forward.
And 2026 feels like a long ways off. It's really not. 3 years is going to go faster than what we realize. But I will say one of the cool things that I didn't know about was that there's going to be like a very quickly done welcome center kind of thing. Like at the build site, there's going to be like a place you can walk through to see,
probably buy stuff.
I'll be shocked if you can buy merchandise there. Who would ever think of that? That you can see the renderings in like bigger, more like professional HD pictures. Maybe see some of the cool newer parts of it, different things. And that's going to be available pretty early on. One of the initial builds is putting that up. And then that will be an entryway into there or some part of it. So just kind of cool to see progress going. And I know our guy Uber, Hans Hansen, who anybody who's not following him is a great follow. One of the moderators over at Bill's Reddit and one of the members of our writers here at Cover One put out a really kind of genuine tweet to it saying that like some people don't think this is a big deal, but it is a big deal. And that a lot of people spent a lot of years genuinely worried that the Bills were leaving. And I think once the Pagulas bought the team, most people should have felt pretty solidified that was never going to happen. But getting a new stadium is the absolute nail in the coffin of like, hey, this is real. They're here forever in the relative sense. that you just don't ever have to worry about that. Like, this is the real deal. The Bills are here forever, and that they're in making that investment. And that's a cool feeling. And seeing that, like, I hadn't really thought of it like that. I'd kind of let that anxiety go when the Pagulas bought the team, but
Same.
just seeing it in that sense, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I was in the same spot. I was at the game when the Bagulas got introduced to the fans after buying
That's
it,
cool.
and we're just like, I was like, we're good to go. You know what I mean? Like we're good here. But I agree, that's a good perspective. I think another interesting perspective, and you talking about how like 3 years is going to go by, and I'll drift off for a second here. That like all I could think of is my kids and like how quick the last 7-8 years, have blown by here. It will go quick, and I think if you haven't had a chance to get out to Ralph Wilson or Highmark or whatever it is you call it, now the clock's ticking. Like we always talked about this moment and the team having a new stadium and stuff like that, but now it is here, and they are going to be breaking ground here soon, and the clock is going to be ticking. So if you haven't had a chance, and it is something that you can do, I recommend it. Whatever they build is probably going to be fantastic, but there's something special about that place, as it's that old dingy little place that we call home, that I absolutely love, and I think everyone should try to get an opportunity to see a game there. It's the sight lines. I've sat all over that stadium, Greg, in every nook and cranny of that place, and there isn't a bad seat in that whole.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, similar settings of like, I know you're a Michigan fan, so things like the Big House and like those old traditional, Rose Bowl style stadiums where it was designed solely for viewing the game and that kind of setup, and not all the other modern amenities and all the other things that now get built into it. You don't lose all those different pieces. So it's something where I think it's exciting to see, but yeah, getting to enjoy these last couple years here at the Ralph is going to be also fun.
Yeah.
All right. So without further ado,
we got to do this.
Let's jump in. We're going to do our first mock draft. So we're going to do a few of these. We'll do them, with me making the final call, with Aaron making the final call, maybe having some guests
Don't
on
let me
to
do
help
that.
us do some. Aaron can't be trusted.
Don't.
So we've led up to here. Aaron and I try to let the NFL schedule dictate our content. So we really focus on free agency, the lead up to that, re-signing our own players, the tenders, who we're going to keep, contract projections, then reacting to those first couple weeks of free agency. Last week, we came in and said, okay, now that we've stepped back and seen those first couple weeks of free agency, what holes are left, where are those needs? We all kind of agreed on some of those spots. The linebacker is a very glaring one, but we still see, wide receiver, tackle, defensive tackle, maybe even an edge rusher, all there in the mix in that top tier of maybe those top 5 positions. And now we're going to put that to use here in a live mock draft. We're going to start out with using the PFF software. So we'll play around with some different ones. I know we have here in the chat, I think we have one of our guys for NFL Draft Fanatics who might test them out later on. Maybe we'll give, I know there are some weird things with TDN this year, but I haven't opened it, and that was the one I used the most in previous years. Yeah. So maybe we'll try that out. And we've done other ones in the past that we'll play around with and give some different looks for. But without further ado, we will go ahead and dive right in. And tonight, I know we kind of talked pre-show on how we want to go about, doing this. And I think that we can be able to set it up in a way that lets us, kind of still be realistic without being crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's slow it down.
That speed slow. So I do a lot of these with Pat Moran.
Okay.
We do a series where we do it's like 6 of them. So we're in week 3, I think, already. This was our 3rd here this week. And we go a little fast. And he was trying to get a trade made yesterday. And if you're trying to trade up, definitely you're gonna want slow. Which I have no way. He was trying to convince me to trade up. I have no.
A lot of times I go right in the center, but I actually think the public board is a little bit more like, I think PFF has some weird rankings.
They do. And what I've been trying to do, and it's really hard, is work in some of the consensus into how I'm approaching the board, right? Like even regardless of where PFF stuff falls, try to put my picks within where the consensus has it versus the PFF boards. And that's tough because you're playing within a kind of their ecosphere.
And I know, every year I always argue, like, I think teams do draft for need. we're not that great at identifying what their best need is. Like a lot of times after we see the picks, we're like, oh, okay, I see where that makes sense. But it's not the position everybody pegged them for. So I always kind of knock that back. And then I do a little bit of randomness. We don't want it to get crazy with, top guys fall into pick 40 and stuff.
And with
like
positional need too, I think it's tough when it's a national perspective because we've seen some mock drafts where it's like, man, are they really paying attention to the Bills? As much as well as we know the teams. There's no way all these guys follow all these teams that close.
You can't. It's not possible. No. So again, we are going to be open to trades if somebody makes an offer. We also talked beforehand. We're not going to manipulate the board. Like you can make some pretty crazy trades. At least not here, taking advantage of it. So we'll see where it goes here. So as it starts to get through, this does go pretty slow.
We might have gone too slow.
See what you did. All right, I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
We'll that's a little too slow. That's a little.
This is the beauty of live TV. Yeah. That's a little slow.
So we'll go maybe there.
Yeah.
We'll let that go a little bit there. Okay. Let me get it back to where
I at least have like early elementary school level reading capability, so we can.
All right, let's start that again. And of course, the one that we just lost was going to be the greatest mock draft in the history of the world. Okay.
Everything was falling out.
There we go. So, pretty normal.
It doesn't matter. We're going to reach everywhere. So also, Greg, the way we sort of discussed tonight, you had mentioned like the different ways we could play these out. I'm playing sort of like the role of a scout or assistant to the front office, right? But this is your draft. I'll convince you one way or another if I have a guy that I'll pound the table for, but you're Brandon Bean tonight, man.
I'm already sad.
I'm glad that it's your night because a couple of my guys expected though, right, Greg? At least from what we're seeing.
So going through, you look at, Darnell Wright, a huge favorite guy that I like. Obviously, Jackson Smith-Njigba, I don't expect him to make it. I don't honestly expect Darnell Wright to make it either. He's too, universally liked. I'm a big fan of Zay Flowers. We did not see any linebacker go. Which I don't think is surprising. I think that's expected. We did see a couple interesting ones here. We'll just go through some of the top positions that we identified last week. So Broderick Jones, Anton Harrison, both being there, DeJuan Jones. So 3 of the top tackles, and although not Darnell Wright, but Broderick Jones is thought of pretty highly. Mm-hmm. At linebacker, all of our guys are there. So we've got everybody at linebacker. We've got Sanders, Campbell, Henley, Simpson, that top 4 that pretty much everybody has. At wide receiver, Jordan Addison, which has been getting more common buzz to the Bills and people talking about whether that's a good fit or not.
Beasley 2.0 up there.
I mean,
and Downs is there.
And then Maisie Smith is another one that's gotten a lot. So let me know who you want to talk about or who would you want to point me towards. We also have 4 trade offers here, including some dropping back to 30, 34, 36, and 48.
I got 2 questions about trades for you because this came up with during Pat and I talking about it a little bit last night. He kept trying to convince me he picked out like 4 or 5 players that could potentially be trade ups if they fall within a certain range where it wouldn't be a big jump for the Bills. Obviously it wouldn't play out in this scenario. Say Wright he's fallen towards the Giants.
Sure.
Is that are there any guys in this draft that are where they're falling towards and you just got to jump up 4 or 5 that if they're even close, you're willing to just go up and snag them? Because this draft for me that doesn't have a lot. I'm not a lot in love with a lot of these guys. Wright is the only one that makes me kind of like maybe I would jump up and grab them.
So last year we went from 25 to 21 and it cost us our 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So
was that
I think that was it. I think it was from 25 to 21 and it cost us our 4th, or 25 to 22. I can't remember which one. I'm sure the chat will remind me. Yeah. So that's the area I'd be okay. So if we needed to move to 23, 22, 23, which would be the same kind of range, and it cost us pick 130 because it was somebody that we really wanted. And for me, it's probably Jackson Smith-Njigba. If Jackson Smith-Njigba makes it to 20, 22, 23, 24, and we can get up there with our 4th round pick, that I would make the move for. I love Darnell Wright. I don't know that him versus Broderick Jones is a huge drop off. I think Broderick Jones is also a really good tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So in fact, he's probably, going to be hard to pass on here, although there's
Yeah.
a handful of interesting names. So yeah, I think there's a couple that I would move into that range for, but it's a pretty small list, like you said.
Okay. And then so now my second question is in line with trades is I'm been an advocate, and I'm not going to make the case for him right now because this board actually stacks out pretty well for you to have some pickings here. But if you want a linebacker, my case has been you have to take Jack Campbell with that first pick, and you have to be sold in on that because I just don't see anyone else filling the need for you in the Super Bowl run in the same way. So if you are team trade back for Jack, how far do you think in doing some of these mocks can you go, and like how soon do you have to pull that trigger, because you can't trade back too early on and then somebody else comes up and takes him, right? Like this is a very dangerous game of trading back for a guy that you're targeting, especially if it's only one guy that you're trying to target. That's not a good decision for Brandon Beane to make, is trade back with the intention of only targeting one player.
Yeah, so there's a couple to look at here. I think Pittsburgh is in need of a linebacker. They're the one in the middle that makes me nervous.
Texans.
I mean Texans have needs all over the place.
Right, yeah.
But yes, sure. And then you get back. So this second Steelers pick, I think the Lions could also use somebody, the Giants. So I don't think you can go.
Commanders need a little bit of everything too.
Yeah, I don't think you can go past this middle chunk here with like the Jets also. So I think it's early second. Ideally for me, it's somewhere enough where you get some value between like the Cardinals at 34 to like the Seahawks at 37, the Raiders at 38. That range is something I'd be open to, but it would need to be something like that. And here, I won't lie, I haven't done a ton of work on Anton Harris. I like Broderick Jones. I like Jordan Addison. I like Maisie Smith. There's DeJuan Jones. There's a lot of guys here.
Ojolari, I know nobody wants to invest in an edge.
Yeah, but still,
especially what's on the board. But
stud edge. Same thing, Josh Downs. So we're actually in a position where I don't have an obvious slam dunk. Hey, you have to take that guy no matter what. I would consider a trade down here. Is one of the spots that I would consider, especially here. I don't think you can get that much just dropping to the Eagles. And I know some people will say, oh, drop to the Eagles and then trade down again. And we just don't see that often in real life. Like, don't get me wrong. I can manipulate this and I could probably trade down to 30.
Yes.
And then I could trade down again to 34. And then I could trade down again to 36.
Yeah. But we got to go put our kids to bed at some point.
Yeah. And that just, don't get me wrong. That sounds awesome. I would love it if Beane did that. It would also be the first time anyone's pulled that off and been able to do that multiple times.
So then that is what's happening. Is what you're
right now, I really I think it would be. So it'd be between.
Well, who are the other trade candidates? Who have four?
The four that are there are the Eagles at 30, the Cardinals at 34.
Okay.
The Rams at 36 and the Lions at 48. So I would probably be targeting the Cardinals or the Rams.
Yeah.
The Rams have 36, 69, 77. That 77 pick is nice. The Cardinals have 34, 66, 96. We'd probably be getting 96 and something else. So from a value standpoint,
it's a pretty big gamble too. If it's back for Campbell only.
Correct. So that would be my target. I would move back to something like, I would try something like this, 36 and 77 for 27 and 6. Yeah, that's about right. 67% chance. I think that's a reasonable move from in the value chart
how
matches.
Many picks are you waiting?
So then we would drop 9 picks. We would drop 9 picks, and we would drop probably 2 teams that could go linebacker. But that Pittsburgh pick of 32 would be the one that would be the most nerve-wracking.
It would be quite nerve-wracking. I don't know. It's a path. I'd also just go here with the tackle. I would, if I'm in that scouting room and I'm looking at what we've got and the holes we've got. Yes, linebacker is the biggest one. We've talked about, there's going to be a lot of talk about ways to cover that up if they don't address it here in the draft. But tackle, I know there. I just listened to Joe Marino this morning making a case for Spencer Brown, and I love Joe, but it didn't sell me off the spot that I'm at and he didn't say otherwise, that you still can bring in somebody to compete with him.
His ceiling is still there. We just have not seen the floor.
Yes, and I would love to have the problem of him getting closer to his ceiling and getting a Broderick Jones who is already closer to his ceiling, right? Like those are problems.
Well, his floor is already higher than Spencer Brown's floor right now, day one. Yeah. Broderick Jones or Darnell Wright, their floor would be higher than Spencer Brown day one. That doesn't mean that they can match. Spencer Brown has historic traits. he hasn't put it together consistently to raise that floor. I care about protecting Josh Allen, and that we know offensive line is a weak link game. And that if you are the weak link, teams will continue to put their best guy against you, especially in critical downs. And right now, that guy's Spencer Brown. And, if he beats that, awesome. This is a huge luxury, and you have a ton of value to be able to have a
Deion Dawkins contract's going to come up at some point.
Yeah, you have options. Yeah. So, all right, well, let's try it the other way then.
Well, maybe so just my only last bit of advice is if you don't take Campbell now, you probably aren't walking away with a linebacker. That is going to do something for you.
So my counter was going to be, let's take Jones and then monitor this range here of getting to Raiders, Panthers, Saints, Titans before these other linebacker needy teams come up. And if he's still there at 39, 40, 41, again, that's an area you could move up, only costing us our 4th round pick and still keep
probably
that
have to jump those Jets right there.
Yes,
right?
That would be my target is to monitor. And if he's still there, maybe try to trade up here with one of those teams.
Okay, take
All
Jones.
right, let's go that direction. We're going to go Broderick Jones.
Keep on him.
Ready? So we got to make it through the beginning. Maisie Smith went, Michael Meyer, Adebaware, Jordan Addison, Osiris Torrance. One more. Bergeron just went. So we're sitting here at 39. Look, there's still a handful there. We can maybe wait 1 or 2 more, but it's got to be one right around here. And just looking if we offer 59 and 130. Ooh, they're saying they wouldn't take that. They're not interested in trading. So, we got to move down. Let it go one more.
We missed them.
All right. See, and that's the risk of what
Tennessee
what goes on.
That makes sense too.
Needing to be able to find one. So letting it continue. That's the game.
That's why you do these mocks. Here. I got somebody giving me some crap on Twitter, and if you're watching, I saw it about doing too many of these, and I'll post them. I'll do more. It is an exercise in some of the philosophy that you would approach or that team should approach, and how it sounds so easy to say on Twitter, we'll just trade back for this guy. And
that last pick,
every time
Keanu Benton right before us. But this is exactly what I'm talking about is, we wanted to move up with Carolina. Well, here in the simulator being a realistic version of that, they didn't want to move down.
No.
And that's possible. It's no, we DeJuan Jones. We don't want to move down. We wanted to move up to that spot. So it's, that kind of thing is what
in real life, though, Bean would have then been on the phone, or somebody else in his organization would have been already on the phone with the other team. We wouldn't have had to pause and wait and pause and wait.
Correct.
You would have had a little more flexibility.
Maybe that Saints pick we could have jumped up there. Although the one I would have been trying for is the Titans, who are the one who picked him. So you never know how they would have wanted to.
For sure.
All right. So who do you want to look at?
Right there, by the way.
Yeah.
For those listening, Cody Mock and Ojulari, don't want them doing that.
I would prefer they not do that.
What
position? So we have a tackle. So now we're looking wide receiver, linebacker.
Benton has been nothing but my round 2 target, and Bergeron. So I'm at a loss here. Who's on the board here?
So we've got Tank Dell.
I think that's redundant now. I was all about that until now that Hardy's on the team. I feel like being small and fast is redundant.
No edge rushers really out there. I already see one that I know I like. So for me, it's going to come down to Trenton Simpson versus Siaki Ika.
Okay. You can sell me on the belly.
God, it's a glorious belly. And he's the version where he also moves really well and actually helps collapse the pocket and is kind of a poor man's Vita Vea. He's not quite as dominant as Vita Vea, but that kind of player where he's able to really make an impact there. We already went offensive line. I do like both Joe Tippmann and John Michael Schmitz.
You're going to have a tough time getting me not to sell you on JMS here.
John Michael Schmitz is probably the best value of anybody left. I think that's
your Mitch Morse replacement in 2 years. It's a good thinking ahead, stacking that interior offensive line move you can make. The only argument I'll make, I'll let you pick who you want here. I am not in on Simpson as the pick for the Bills. I understand
athletic traits, but not
I see the draw to the player and the prospect. I also love these types of prospects. I like him as a player. I just don't know that he does what I want, and I don't know that he would do it quick enough where I want to give the asset. I'm torn in between a place of like, the Super Bowl window's open now. This is a gaping hole. We need to fix it. And building the future of that position and having time to invest in something that for me, it's Campbell. Again, I keep saying it, Campbell, or we're signing Deion Jordan or what's his name?
Yeah. So Deion Jones, Zach Cunningham, those kind of players. So let's try this again, where there's two players that I like, but we'll try to move up. I'd like to get both players. I'd like to find a way to get both Ika and John Michael Schmitz. So let's see if we can get into
froggy tonight.
The early third from that 9th round pick. Somewhere here, one of those Broncos picks is what.
I don't think JMS makes it past Chicago with 2 picks. I don't think he makes it past that 6.
Yeah. So you might have to move up one of those. All right, I'm going to take Ika.
Take a look. Okay,
let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
We'll let it go a couple. Right there. First pick. You were right. You were spot on. With the Bears took him right off the bat.
It's a good. That'd be a really good pick for them.
Yeah, it is.
And then they back it up with Tank Dell. You need to protect Fields and continue to get
him another weapon. Yeah, and that works when you have. They already have a ton of size with Chase Claypool, adding in DJ Moore, having Darnell Mooney. The guy like Tank Dell was perfect for them as a 4th receiver, gadget guy, slot. Like he's a great fit for what they do. Schoonmaker, yeah. God, we're getting just sniped.
This is tough, man.
Crazy. Gervin Dexter is another guy that I would have liked.
Yeah.
We're getting crushed here.
Luckily, we win interior.
Well, luckily, the internet is super forgiving. So when I post the results of this mock, like everybody's going to be super gracious about it. So
they won't definitely.
They definitely won't crap all over me for how horrible of a mock draft this is.
Right.
But again, we've done this all the time. It's super easy to go in here and to do 15 mock drafts and to post the best one that turns out the best. And they never turn out that way. Like there's just not.
We're still doing all right here. We're addressing the trenches, which is I do think where the Bills have been the weakest.
Large humans. Jaden Reed is an interesting pick. Jonathan Mingo, another interesting pick. What positions would you want me to look at? So we've gone 2 big guys. The linebackers that are here. A lot of people do like Dorian Williams. Evan Pace Jr. is an interesting weapon. I don't think he's a middle linebacker.
202 is probably my favorite.
Noah Sewell's I like big dude.
I know. I like here's my thing with this linebacker class and why it's Jack Campbell or bust for me is it's either then it's you're banking on the development of a Simpson to a middle linebacker type of guy, or I think it's a lot of guys that aren't middle linebackers in the NFL and at the next level. And so I don't love a lot of these. I like a lot of those guys as players. I just don't think it fits for Bills middle linebacker. I love
Aaron loves it. Yeah, Zach Kuntz is crazy. Like historically, he's like the Spencer Brown of tight ends. Like historically good athletic traits.
I'd love to walk out with Schoonmaker is already off the board here. I'd like to walk away with one of those guys in my drafts. Usually, where's running back at right now? I know that's not what Bills Mafia wants to hear. But
McBride, Bigsby, Tajay Spears.
I don't hate. I don't hate Spears.
I don't mind that in the 4th round. I'm honestly pretty much good on our running back group right now. But I do think that they'll bring in competition. I am excited to see who is the best undrafted free agent out of the draft class, and that we end up adding one of those guys somewhere.
I wouldn't mind, and not now with this pick, but the kid from Texas there.
Roshan Johnson.
Roshan Johnson. I think that Damian Harris is that 1-year fix for that, but then maybe he could come along and give you that role.
So I'm between. I like Jaden Reed, but I also like Jonathan Mingo. So those 2 are there. I do like Dorian Williams. I do think that he is a possibility at linebacker. I think that there's a chance that he could at least come in and compete. And I don't think he's significantly different than a Terrell Bernard or a Terrell Dotson, but it's just another guy. And if you hit on one of them, hey, you have something there. There's not anybody else like screaming.
If that's where you're on the edge of, I do like Riley Moss. We don't need another corner, but I do like Riley Moss. And it's weird that PFF has that as our biggest need. So we did this
where you could sign in or draft Andrew Voorhees and just redshirt him.
did it last night in Pat
Okay.
Moran with a mock. I took him and redshirted him with that exact thing. I was like, dude, I
With
can't.
pick
He
91.
was sitting there on the board like,
Yeah.
I can't. This value's
For me,
too
it's
good.
a slam dunk in the 4th round. Here, I'd be open to it still. I think it's still feasible.
Yeah, I think we were in the 4th when we did it.
Yeah, the 4th, I would have a really hard time passing on him.
Yeah, it was just too high of a value to not
Yeah.
redshirt him here. But
And
yeah,
you're
no,
getting
I
like
think,
a high second round pick as a,
yeah.
And you just have to be patient for
You
a
just
year.
have to wait a year. We can do that. They set that room up enough to wait a year. Yeah, go wide receiver here. If I'm arguing you or trying to sway you, I just don't believe in this linebacker group. And if you're not pushing better, then if you don't really feel like that you're adding a player to that room that's going to be better than Bernard or Dotson, then I can do that at free agency.
Yeah.
And I've got those guys probably already on the line, ready to take a contract.
So I'm leaning Jaden Reed slightly over Jonathan Mingo. Do you feel differently?
No.
Okay. All right.
No strong feeling.
Let's go, Jaden Reed. And now I'm hoping one of those guys I referenced makes it here. That a Dorian Williams, a Andrew Voorhees, looking at someone in that realm. Maybe we start to look at maybe one of those running backs.
This is running back territory now. I do like Carl Brooks in that third round, fourth round.
Brooks did go. Sean Tucker went Dorian Williams. He made it.
There goes Spears.
Roshan Johnson and Spears. So yeah, a lot of
they went on the run, man.
There went Voorhees at 118.
We're having a tough day.
Yeah, we're getting crushed. Just again, the
There's
internet.
Mingo. So you couldn't have waited on Mingo. There goes
Olo Tommy.
That's another guy that's high on my target. Yeah, honestly, most of my typical 4th round targets are gone. So good luck here.
So again, we've got 2 large humans and a wide receiver. I've got a tackle who, Broderick Jones is a stud. So getting him at 27 is great value. Honestly, the same thing. Getting Ika at 59 is fantastic value. Those are both guys who normally are not there at those picks. I like Jaden Reed. I would love to have gotten a little better value there, but I like Jaden Reed a lot. I think he's a really good player. I think he can come in and immediately push for slot snaps, and his route running separation is fantastic. So I still like the totality, even though we got sniped by a whole bunch of different spots here. Linebacker. Now we're getting into 2020. I think there's a chance again he can come in and compete. And Pace Jr. is much different. He's your knockoff version of Micah Parsons, where he's a rush guy. He's a guy who can go in and be able to make a lot of different plays, but he's probably not a traditional linebacker in that sense.
I would, if you're trying to for real walk out a linebacker, I wouldn't take him here at the 130 pick, but you're going to be up here again at 137. I would take 202 there. I think my argument would be you're still going to be undersized like you would with Bernard doing it, but I think he has better instinct already built in. I think Bernard's a better athlete, but 202 plays with better instinct. So that would be a potential plus upgrade earlier.
So again, interior line. I know a lot of people like Juice Scruggs. I love his name. It's just fantastic name.
That's a good football name.
Oh, it's a great football name. So Juice Scruggs, I think is high on the value from that standpoint.
Really, name standpoint.
Looking to see if any of our guys stuck out here at safety. I know a lot of people like Brandon Hill.
I do like Brandon Hill, not here.
Yeah, late round pick. Yeah. Nobody's standing out here. That's a huge.
No, and luckily for us, not a huge need.
Well, now with
look at us.
Crazy. Like how we don't really need a.
That's why I don't do the draft stuff so early on.
Yeah. Zach Kuntz still sitting there. There's one that actually does make me happy. I didn't realize he had fallen. So that's one that I really like here, especially in the 4th round. I think he's a really high upside athlete.
And I think he will be higher than PFF.
I agree. I don't know that we would get him here at this spot, but I like that value a lot. And then, like I said, if we can come back and get one of those 2 linebackers and the next pick wrapping up quickly here, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, do that with him and the linebacker.
And now see, as long as we don't get sniped here at line. Pace Jr. went. Come on, don't do it. Oh, Juice Scruggs went, but okay. All right, so 2020 did make it. So now I feel better. Now we're getting a little bit of better fortune. So again, getting 2020 here. Now we're wide open. We've now checked the box at a ton of the different spots. We have both a receiver and a tight end. We have an offensive tackle. We have a defensive tackle. So now, maybe a swing at edge rusher, a swing at interior offensive line, a swing at running back. I could take any of those different spots. Maybe a
Or just a
size wide receiver.
specialty. This is I know a lot of people do like Brandon Hill. This is where I take him
Yep.
almost every time. And just like a potential special teams, maybe only player. You just you never know.
Sure.
We still don't know the DeMar Hamlin situation, how that's actually gonna play out. So
Yep.
more future depth's not terrible. But it's really, like you said, taking a swing on some depth here that's maybe practice squad type player.
Yeah, so right now we've gotten a lot of size. So getting Broderick Jones again at 27 is really good. I love Siaki Ika. Him and Keanu Benton, I would love if we have a chance to walk away with one of those two. If we went Jack Campbell and then got Siaki Ika to put in front of him, that would make me very, very happy to keep him clean. I like getting Jaden Reed again. That there's receivers I like more, but I think he's a sneaky one. I know our friend Bruce Nolan is a huge fan of Jaden Reed and thinks he's one of the underrated receivers. You want to go Stetson Bennett?
I knew you were going to ask.
Let's look at a couple of the positions here. So at safety, we do have, I know Kamari Connor is one.
It's insulting to me how low PFF is on him.
Yeah, that's not realistic. I think he's going to go well before this, but it's okay. We'll also, let's look at interior O-line. Any names that stick out there? I'm looking to see if there are any. Yeah, every once in a while you see. Man, let me look. Do they have somebody listed at tackle? There's a couple of the guys that we saw at the Senior Bowl that no one that made it this far. There's a couple of guys that I've been really pleased with that you'll see here or there sneak down a little bit. Running back. Mohamed Ibrahim, he's a popular pick.
I like him here. Sometimes he doesn't always end up here, but Ronnie Bell, wide receiver, Michigan. We already took a wide receiver here, so it wouldn't be
if I went
draft, but
Ronnie Bell is there. Puka Nacua, or my guy. If I'm going to do one, it's going to be somebody with a little more size that we would add to be able to push for that. But we're already talking 6 receivers right now prior to this pick, because you're talking Diggs, Davis. We have Deontay Hardy, added Trent Sherfield, Khalil Shakur, and we already drafted Jaden Reed. So a 7th receiver would be tough.
Is this dude's up at the top? Is his name for real Jadakiss?
Yeah, that is pretty sweet.
Like the rapper?
That is pretty sweet.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
I like Jada.
So
anyways, we're not taking receiver, and we're not taking Stetson Bennett.
So
I'm going to pound the table for Brandon Hill, but you can do whatever you want.
I'm between those two. Is that I'd be between, would I do Mohamed Ibrahim or would I do Brandon Hill? And I think honestly, Brandon Hill has a more likely
clear path
to the roster. And again, I'm
more utilization, probably.
Whoever is the best running back to not get drafted is the guy that I'm going to be excited to add. I know Hunter Lepke is actually like one of those kind of do it all guys who played a ton of different positions and all kinds of different stuff. So that's an interesting one. Some people have tried to say
it'd be cool if we had an offensive coordinator that could use people
that could actually do things like that and use a Hunter or use check out in San Francisco. All right. This one you've swayed me. I think Brandon Hill is the right pick. All right. So for as frustrated as I was in the middle there, where I wasn't able to trade back up for Jack Campbell, the way that it ended up falling, I'm actually really happy. So if this draft happened, this is the draft where I would want to now walk out and immediately sign a Deion Jones or a Zach Cunningham as a 1-year Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And to come in and here, mentor 2020 and these guys and see if, if Terrell Bernard or 2020 beat out a Zach Cunningham or Deion Jones. And I know Eric has concerns about their fit in what's there, but we at least have seen them start football games at middle linebacker in the NFL reasonably successfully. So if that's our weakest link, I'd rather that with some knowledge and experience, still athleticism, versus rolling the dice on a guy that we're just not sure is going to ever play at that level.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think going in again, if it's not Jack Campbell or bust, I think the Bills are going to go into this season with linebacker being the biggest question, probably the biggest flaw. And we didn't address that here, clearly. Ooh, PFF does not like Jaden Reed right there. That makes sense. I feel like that's probably the one we've probably also felt the least
iffiest
excited about.
I didn't have any trade offers at that spot, so that's one that's tough to be able to move from. But overall, the size that we got early, we got a tackle to probably come in and take Spencer Brown's job from day one. Siaki Ika is a fantastic partner with to put next to Daquan Jones and to be able to, those two can play 50% of snaps each, and we have a monster on the field at all times.
And this would help your
to each other.
Linebacker core, right? Like that's the idea is get some beef, and maybe you can hide Bernard or 202 here.
You're able to do that. Jaden Reed, I think, comes in and pushes for slide. I know they don't like him here, but I think he's still good value at that spot and a good receiver. Kuntz, I think, is a fantastic addition from an upside standpoint. We don't need anything from him initially, but his, he again is a Spencer Brown type at tight end. He literally is the highest RAS score in history at tight end, and legit did it at the combine, not at a pro day, from Northern Iowa or is it Northern Iowa? Is that where Spencer Brown played? Northern Iowa?
Yep.
Not somebody giving him a favorable, clock at his hometown. This was at the combine. 2020, again, starting middle linebacker from Alabama, playing against the SEC. A lot coming in there, and Brandon Hill. So I think this actually came together a little bit better than how I felt live as it was going on.
Yeah, I think you've addressed some things. I love building in the trenches. I think a lot of people will make the case, there's been a lot of argument that they haven't addressed skill positions early for Josh Allen, and that's somehow an insult to Josh Allen. I think you can get skill positions everywhere, and I think the Bills have a good skill position group. I think the investments early on for really good teams need to be in the trenches, and that you continue to develop that. So this would be sort of key plan of attack for me. Not necessarily always the targets that I'm looking for to address the trenches with those first two picks, but I'm happy. I'm walking away with guys that I think fill those needs of the guys that I've been typically targeting. So I think it's a hard one to sell to the marketing department to get sexy. Nobody's going to be.
I just got large humans. I do not have a lot of jersey sellers in this draft class.
It is not a jersey selling draft class, but that's where this team's at, right? Like when you get to a spot where your roster is just really filling and plugging holes. And again, we probably didn't utilize the draft to address the biggest glaring hole on this team, but we filled in a lot of the things that are going to either be problems in the future or are going to maybe make those problems a little less significant.
Yeah. You want to know how Howie Roseman built that roster into what it is in Philadelphia? By taking large humans in the top premium rounds. He just takes offensive lineman and defensive lineman over and over and over again. That's what good teams do. You keep building up your trenches because you have a lot of the other studs there. And, this is the kind of one where what I meant to say was that third round pick we traded to Arizona for DeAndre Hopkins.
That's
so
another
actually,
thing. Yeah,
that was the wide receiver that we added, not Jaden Reed. I actually added DeAndre Hopkins.
Perfect. That makes me feel a little bit better about the draft.
All right. So our first mock draft is in the books. I got to make the calls on this one. Next week, we'll have you make the calls on one, and I'll try to convince you of what we need to do, and you can take it as crazy and sideways as you want.
Cool. I like that. But now you're on vacation.
Yeah.
So the work part of it.
All the reason that we moved this up 7 o'clock is early tomorrow morning. Me and my family take off for Disney World. I'm taking my family to go down and meet my sister and brother-in-law and my nephews and my parents, and all 10 of us are going to Disney World together. The one time that we'll get to do a big, huge family trip. My parents are still in great shape to be able to get around the park and go down, and my nephews are 8 and 11. My kids are 6 and 9. It's a perfect age to have them all together and have fun, and I can't wait. I'm really excited.
Gonna be magical.
Been planning this forever.
Yeah, it's gonna be a magical week for you, man. I'm really excited for you guys. I know Disney's a big one for you, and that being able to get the whole family together, that's really cool. So I'm glad you guys were able to work everyone's schedules and get that to work out just right.
Yeah, and I appreciate all of you guys joining us here early. Aaron and awesome producer Chris being flexible to be able to help run earlier, and we're going to wrap the show, and I'm going to go finish packing and go to bed.
Now, I get to go. This is a little insight that is probably going to expose me a little bit. Now I get to go watch Vanderpump Rules. Really, I'm super invested into the current drama of this show in probably an unhealthy way for me. But I'm not mad that we're wrapping up in time to go watch the.
I like it. By the way, shout out to our people on Twitch. So a whole bunch of people in the chat here tonight. Twitch, we appreciate you guys. And you really almost had me on going for Mingo over Jaden Reed. I wouldn't, in hindsight, I might have gone Mingo instead of Jaden Reed with that pick. But there was a lot of the folks in Twitch were pounding the table for Mingo, so I appreciate it.
Gotcha. Yeah. All
right. Well, everybody have fun. Hang out with you and Chris on Spaces on Friday. You guys doing the Spaces?
I got to talk to Chris. My
Maybe
kids
some
are.
Masters talk?
It is April break, so we will see. To be determined. Chris and I are going to talk. If I can get my kids to STFU over in the corner for an hour, maybe. Okay.
I appreciate it. So I will see you guys. I will be back in time for next week's show. So I will be gone exactly from this show to the next show, and then we'll be back. Chris just posted in the chat here Sabres watch party tomorrow. Make sure you check it out. They've had a blast. Unfortunately, the game last night did not go the way that we were all hoping, but they still had an awesome time being able to watch together and seeing the first two starts for Devin Levi look incredibly promising. That's really fun. So happy for all my Sabres fan friends. But appreciate you guys. This was a ton of fun. On behalf of amazing producer Chris Kepner and Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo.